Find a comfortable place, lower the lights, and let the world outside become quiet for a little while. As we descend beneath Abu Simbel, let your own body grow still with the temple. Let each step become quieter than the last. You may follow every clue or simply drift with the rhythm of the story until sleep finds you. Tonight, we return to the Kingsley expedition files, where ancient stones remember what history has forgotten, and the silence beneath the earth is never truly empty. Our story begins with Arthur Kingsley and his companions, following the black basalt quay from the Sphinx to the great cliff temple of Abu Simbel. There, in the final breath before sunrise, the dark red light of dawn passed through the temple corridor and broke apart into blue beams. The sealed altar began to turn, and beneath the sanctuary floor, deeper than the desert, deeper than memory, a third heartbeat began to rise. It was not simply a sound, it was a summons. A stairway opened beneath Abu Simbel, black, clean, and faintly wet with blue light, as if it had been waiting for centuries beneath the sleeping temple. No sand lay on the steps, so breathe gently now. Come with me, back to the moment when the first step beneath Abu Simbel began to glow. The altar turned without hurry. Its circular rim scraped the sanctuary floor in a slow, measured rotation, each movement sending a low tremor into the blue-lit stones beneath our feet. The third heartbeat followed it. Not faster, not louder, only deeper, as if the temple had waited centuries to breathe through this single opening. Madia dropped to one knee beside her. She held the star chart over the moving circle and indicated that the symbols were changing position as the altar turned. They were not meant to be read from one fixed angle. They had to be read while moving, as if the sentence itself required rotation. I lowered the basalt key slowly, then moved closer to the altar. Dust shifted around my boots as the circular seam widened. A ring of shadow appeared between the altar and the floor, impossibly perfect, too clean to have been cracked by age. Beneath it, cold air rose in one slow breath. Nadia traced the first line of text. She reported that it repeated the phrase from the Sphinx chamber, but no longer in fragments. Layla steadied the chart beside her, and together they worked through the priest's symbols, the solar marks, and the older star signs that sat between them. The first door has listened. The second face has looked. The third name awakens here. The final line refused to settle. Then the altar stopped. The third heartbeat fell with it into a silence so complete that the tiny crack in my pocket watch seemed to widen by itself. A perfect circle opened in the sanctuary floor. The altar had not hidden a chamber. It had been covering a stair. Black stone steps descended beneath Abu Simbel. No sand lay on them. No rubble blocked them. Each step was smooth, clean, and faintly wet with blue light. The air rising from below carried the mineral taste of deep water, though we stood under a desert cliff. Nadia folded the star chart with hands that no longer trembled. I took one step down and placed my palm against the black wall. A vibration answered from within it, not like machinery and not like collapse. It moved with the patient rhythm of something alive beneath the stone. The steps continued into darkness. At the entrance, the 8 Osiris eyes dimmed one by one behind us, leaving only the blue line under our feet and the third heartbeat rising from below. I led the way down. Nadia did not look away from the seam. She only tightened her hold on the calibrator and continued working, as if the moment had been folded quietly between us and placed somewhere neither of us could name. The stairway did not descend like ordinary stonework. Each step accepted our weight, then answered with a faint blue point beneath the foot. Behind us, they faded slowly, as if the stair remembered us only for a moment before returning to sleep. We reached the end of the stairway one after another, but after only a few steps, a wall blocked our path. Nadia moved beside me. She lifted her flashlight toward a narrow break in the right-hand rock, where the wall had split open like a wound that had healed around darkness. The fracture was too clean to be natural. I pressed both hands against the edge. Something behind a wall had recognized the black basalt key hanging from my belt. The fracture widened by a finger's breadth. Blue light spilled through. The floor beneath us suddenly sank. We began to fall. Said clutched Layla tightly in panic. For one brief instant, Nadia's hand shot out and gripped the shirt at my waist. Before I could make a sound, she pulled it back again. The fall continued, but our speed began to slow. It was as if we had entered the depths of the earth itself. At that moment, I lifted my head and looked upward. The inverted pyramid appeared again. It hung directly above us, its black tip pointing downward toward a river of pale stars. Its base no longer belonged only to Giza. It stretched through the underground darkness, half submerged in a flowing silver galaxy that moved slowly beneath Egypt, like a hidden sky turned inward under the earth. I called for everyone to look up. All of us froze beneath the impossible sight, stunned by its wonder. Yet the endless descent still carried a deep unease. Then Saeed suddenly cried out, "Tip to tip!" Nadia did not look away. She only reached one hand back for the basalt key. I placed it in her palm. Her fingers touched mine again, colder than before, but steady. This time, neither of us moved at once. Only half a second passed. Then Nadia aimed the point of the key at the tip of the inverted pyramid. The underground galaxy turned above us. The fall stopped abruptly. Everyone crashed to the ground. Salt white symbols appeared across the floor, symbols that had not been there before. Said pointed to a low hollow in the wall. The hollow was not natural. Its inner edge formed a perfect circle, surrounded by tiny geometric notches. Something round had once rested there. Something like the brass disc recorded in Nadia's notebook. Layla placed the star chart beside the salt white symbols. Light and shadow moved across the chart, and an image slowly began to form. My throat dried before any answer could take shape. The next mark was not a temple, not Egypt. The starlight on the chart became a pool of blue, water-like shimmer. Around it, the paper showed sunken platforms encircling the image. The salt white symbols formed words too clear to mistake. The next crossing of full moon and night. Bermuda. Suddenly, the black iron key began to vibrate. At first, it trembled only inside Nadia's hand. A small, violent shiver that made the blue lines of the star chart flicker beneath her finger. Then the vibration sharpened. Her wrist jerked back. The key pulled against her grip, as if something deep inside the chart had recognized it. Nadia tried to hold on. I reached for her at once, but the force tore the key from her hand before my fingers could close around it. It spun once in the air, black and wet with reflected starlight, then drove itself into the exact center of the moving map. The star chart cracked open with light. For one impossible second, the blue glow inside it still looked like water. It rippled across the paper. It bent around the drawn platforms. It gathered at the edges of the Bermuda mark like moonlight caught under glass. Then it stopped pretending to be light. Real seawater burst out. It exploded upward from the chart, with the pressure of an opened sea, cold and heavy, striking my chest, my face, my throat. The chamber vanished behind a white rush. Nadia's shoulder hit mine. Sed's drawing flew from his hand. Layla's lamp spun away, casting one broken circle of light before the water swallowed it. The sea took the air from us. Everything vanished. I held my breath and fought upward. There was no floor beneath my boots, no wall to follow, no ceiling to reach. Only darkness, pressure, and the terrible weight of water dragging at my clothes. My arms cut through it blindly. My lungs tightened. The taste of salt flooded my mouth. Somewhere beside me, fabric brushed my sleeve, then disappeared. I kicked harder. The blackness seemed endless. It felt as if a century passed inside that cold, silent depth. The third heartbeat was gone. The blue star lines were gone. Even the temple had become nothing but a memory sinking behind me. Then a blade of blinding light struck my eyes. I broke through the surface. Air tore into my lungs. Water streamed down my face. For several seconds, the world was only brightness, breath, and the violent beating of my own heart. I forced my eyes open against the glare. Nadia was right beside me. Her hair was slick against her face. She was coughing, alive, reaching for balance in the moving water. Relief surged through me so violently that I grabbed her before thought returned. I pulled her against me and held her as if the sea might try to take her back. She wrapped both arms tightly around me. For a moment, neither of us moved. The water lifted us and lowered us. Her breath shook against my shoulder. My hand stayed at the back of her head, steadying her, proving to myself again and again that she was real. Then I turned. Sed was behind us, clinging to Omar's arm. Layla surfaced a few yards away, gasping as she pushed wet hair from her glasses. Omar had one hand locked around Saeed and the other raised toward us, firm and reassuring even in the water. We had all survived. The sun stood high enough to burn gold across the lake. Not the underground sea, not the blue hole, Lake Nasser. Slowly, the impossible truth arranged itself around us. The water stretched wide and bright in every direction, rippling under the desert sky. And ahead of us, slightly to the right, beyond the shifting glare, the Abu Simbel temple stood against the cliff. It was farther from the shore than it should have been. The four-seated giants watched us from a distance, silent beneath the morning light, as if nothing had happened inside their stone heart. But beneath the water between us and the temple, something round flashed once, a brass disc. Then it sank into the blue. That was the moment when I thought of another blue from the star chart. Not the blue of Lake Nasser, not the Nile, but the middle of the Atlantic, the place legend said could swallow everything. The third heartbeat has fallen silent, leaving only the warmth of the sun and the steady rhythm of our breathing on the sand. The impossible deep has closed its gates, and the night has returned to peace. You have traveled far beneath the earth. Let go of every thought. Close your eyes and let the ambient soundscapes wash away the world. If you are still awake and wish to unfold the next chapter of our ancient lore, follow the path on the right side of your screen. Subscribe to join us when the full moon rises over Bermuda. But tonight, just breathe and drift deeper